Democracies generally divide foreign threats into two categories: formal diplomacy, ambassadors negotiating treaties, and covert espionage, spies stealing classified military secrets. The problem is that massive, ongoing losses to Western institutions fall between these traditional categories. Up to $600 billion in annual intellectual property theft and systematic disruption on university campuses do not fit the definitions of diplomacy or espionage. This diagram illustrates the three strategic goals driving the Chinese Communist Party: establishing comprehensive national power, transitioning to an innovation-driven economic growth model, and modernizing the military. Achieving these goals simultaneously requires a mechanism that functions outside standard diplomatic channels and traditional spy networks. Because our defensive systems are calibrated to look for spies and diplomats, they create a blind spot. We miss the whole of society apparatus the Chinese Communist Party uses to exert influence. To understand this apparatus, we have to look at the center of the Chinese Communist Party's authority. The CCP operates a specialized bureaucratic structure known as United Front Work. It is a formalized blend of political engagement, influence operations, and intelligence collection. Throughout the party's history, its leaders have relied on this apparatus to co-opt adversaries and build domestic power, referring to it as a magic weapon for their success. Under Xi Jinping, the Central Committee has expanded the scope and authority of United Front Work. Xi Jinping mandates United Front Work as the work of the entire party, requiring the attention and concerted efforts of every member. We cannot understand Beijing's global strategy by treating every incident of corporate theft or academic coercion as an isolated event. We must analyze the structural mechanics of the United Front itself. United Front Work is an organized mandate executed by a distinct administrative body sitting at the top of the CCP hierarchy. This map illustrates the architecture of the Central United Front Work Department, or UFWD. Its objective is to neutralize political opposition and co-opt elites globally by targeting 12 demographic and professional groups. The department pulls non-party intellectuals, private businesses, and overseas ethnic Chinese into a united front that aligns with CCP priorities. This operational matrix extends outward. Dedicated United Front elements are housed within state ministries and embedded within private companies. This architecture removes the distinction between domestic and overseas operations. The system treats the CCP as one entity and the rest of the world as the target. Because of this whole of society integration, any Western interaction with a Chinese entity, whether it is a university partnership, a civic group, or a tech venture, is potentially a direct interaction with the UFWD. Western academia is a primary target for United Front co-optation. The UFW operates on foreign campuses by mobilizing informal proxy networks. Organizations like Confucius Institutes and Chinese student and scholar associations act as overseas monitoring mechanisms, tracking the speech of students and faculty. Consider the case of Uyghur scholar and activist Rokeya Tordush. During a speaking event at McMaster University in Canada, her presentation was disrupted by networks of students presumed to be coordinated by the local Chinese consulate. Informal harassment is only half of the strategy. The other half relies on codified legal threats to enforce self-censorship abroad. This map visualizes the reach of Article 38 of the Hong Kong National Security Law. Article 38 applies criminal liability for concepts like secession to individuals outside of Chinese territory, regardless of their nationality or where they live. This establishes a systemic chilling effect. Western scholars who depend on Chinese funding, students, or research access are compelled to censor their own writing to avoid retaliation. The UFW architecture successfully enforces domestic censorship inside autonomous foreign universities without deploying a traditional intelligence agent. This same methodology applies to the corporate and technological theater. This graphic outlines the technological leapfrogging demanded by Beijing's 13th five-year plan. The strategy relies on technology nationalism. The government demands that foreign companies form joint ventures to access the Chinese market, while shielding its own state-owned national champions from competition. To reduce reliance on foreign technology, the Made in China 2025 plan targets development in domestic industries, including aerospace, biomedicine, and new materials. The State Council mandates a 4-step technological acquisition process to feed those domestic industries. Step 1 is Introduce. Non-traditional collectors and United Front talent recruitment programs pull foreign intellectual property and technology into the PRC. Steps 2 and 3 are Understand and Assimilate. Civilian and military institutions dismantle and reverse engineer the acquired property. Step 4 is Reinnovate. This stolen knowledge is used to build state-of-the-art technology domestically, allowing Chinese firms to skip the significant initial costs of research and development. This whole-of-society assimilation pipeline strips between $225 and $600 billion from the U.S. economy every year, eroding market-based competition at the structural level. This web illustrates how campus disruptions and corporate espionage connect back to the Central United Front Work Department. The United Front targets traits of democratic openness, academic freedom, open markets, and collaborative research, treating them as structural vulnerabilities to be exploited. Western open systems assume that foreign researchers, students, and businesses operate independently. The whole-of-society model guarantees that they do not. Because the threat is structural, responding to it on a case-by-case, incident-by-incident basis guarantees failure. Surviving this asymmetric engagement requires structural defenses. This means demanding transparency for state-affiliated funding, enforcing institutional codes of conduct for universities, and requiring reciprocity in corporate market access. The United Front is an effective weapon only as long as it operates in the shadows of institutional ignorance. By mapping its architecture, we take the first required step to neutralizing its power.